eyes begin to, because there's a story there. Sometimes trouble of your own making. Some other times troubles of life. But the thing is that there are things that come from very deep within ourselves. And Hannah and the baby Samuel came from a place deep within Hannah's spirit. She had to seek for Hannah. She had to cry up for Hannah. She had to travail for Samuel to be able to come. And I'm sure even as Samantha sits here, when you talk about travailing, when you talk about things coming from a deep place, I'm sure somewhere along your educational journey and also your relationships here and there are some things that threatened your sitting. And she's saying, yeah, where? It is true. Because some things come from very far. We seek some things. They don't come automatically. We seek them. And we seek them with pain. We seek them with tears. Now that's how Samuel came into being. He was not automatic. He was birthed from a deep place. Now, it's important to see what happened to Hannah when finally she got the baby Samuel. Now, one of the things that happened is that she named this son, she named this child, not just a name, but a name that was connected to the source. Now, what is the name of the baby of Hannah? The baby was Samuel. What does Samuel mean? Because I asked him from the Lord. So when the name that Hannah gave to the son, to the miracle that she received, was connected expressly to the source. And sometimes, we see people get like matatus. I saw one called voter turnout. They're interesting names. Voter turnout. Another one, you get a name and you see it has a very disconnecting kind of name. Well, it is a good thing, it's an accomplishment, but the titling or the naming is very disconnected. But we learned from Hannah that it is good for us to recognize that once we receive a miracle, receive the blessing, let's name that blessing in a way that indicates expressly what the source is. Praise be to God. What the source is. And we are here, all gathered in this place, to acknowledge the source from which this accomplishment has come. So this gathering here is naming Samantha's qualification, Samuel. Praise be to God. We are saying in many ways that we are experiencing a Samuel moment because this came from the Lord. So what you name your blessing, what you name your miracle, what you name your accomplishment, let it be very close to the source. Now, I do find that some people who are very accomplished and they have moments to be interviewed, when they ask first, how did you accomplish this? How did you get here? And I'm always very, just taken aback by these very accomplished people. But the first thing they say is, I want to thank the Lord. I want to thank the Lord. On national TV, they will say, I want to thank the Lord. On the features, on glossy magazines, they will always say, I want to thank the Lord. They want to point their accomplishment to the source. Let's remember that. And for this family, today as we are gathering here, the Cheges, we are pointing this blessing to the Lord. Then we also, as we have read, we see that Hannah, when she was taking care of this gift, a time came for her, again, for them to go to Shiloh, as was the custom of their family. But she said at one point, no. This time, I will not go up. What shall I do? I will nurture this child until the child is at the right place for the child to be dedicated to the Lord. Very important is the blessing that we receive, the goodness that we receive from God. It is critical that we nurture, take care of that blessing, take care of that miracle. Because sometimes we receive miracles, but what we see is that they are neglected. We see good things have happened, things that you asked for, but they have been neglected. There is no intensity There's no the reflection of an intentional taking care of the blessing that you have received. How many times do we see, things that we thought would be very well taken care of, but they are suffering neglect. They are neglected. But we see from Hannah the value of nurturing, and not just nurturing, but nurturing again to the glory of God. We have many people, gifted people, but they use their giftedness in another direction, And I do remember a friend of mine who is sitting here in our midst, but I will not single the person out. Some time back, he gave me a story about how he was employed in an organization and an accomplished person to dealing with data and figures. And for about 2 or 3 years, fresh from university, now he got into this nice organization, but somehow for them to get funding, he had to cook the figures. For the funding to be sustained, he had to cook the figures, And I think he can correct me in his head because he's here. I think for 1 or 2, seasons, he did that. And then on the 3rd season, he said, my intellect was not made for this. My intellect was not made for this. My professional qualification was not made for this. And he resigned from the job. Many years later, one of the directors in this organization was also a director in a factory someplace in Meru, a tea factory. And they were experiencing lots of corruption and looting in that tea factory where he was a bold person. And then he remembered that the only person who can help us in this assignment is a guy who worked with me in a certain organization. Please call him. Let him come and help us sort these things out. Because he nurtured his gifting in the right direction. Praise be to God. So when we nurture in the direction of glorifying God. That gentleman is sitting somewhere here amongst us today. And I tell this story without his consent, but I know he doesn't mind. But the thing is that he nurtures, or he takes his knowledge to the glory of God. So, Samantha,